Juan at 6 p.m. today. May we rise for the invocation. Mr. Arjona, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Yes, bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. As we gather here, we pray that this meeting is successful, productive, and blessed. Guide us during our discussions. Give us wisdom concerning the issues that we face. Lord, we give you the glory for what we accomplished. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. May be seated. At this time, Ms. Diana, is there any public comments? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, Mr. Arjona.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Today we start out with presentations. We have Sanitation Department, San Juan Memorial Library, Planning and Zoning, and Parks and Recreation on the monthly report. No? No.
Okay, I thought she won. Okay, go ahead.
The reports are there with you. Should you have any questions, on any of the reports, the department directors are here, ready, available.
How are we coming, Mr. Arguna, with the streets across the fire station on the north side that Colonia has been in construction for kind of a
My
while?
understanding on that one, Commissioner, they're working on it already. Hopefully, we're done by next week, if not the week after, completed completely from that subdivision.
Yes, Commissioner, because of the bad weather, the project got placed on hold, but the weather finally cleared up this week. I drove by earlier today and they put the oil, so they're preparing for the asphalt. Hopefully later this week, they'll finish paving that subdivision.
On that first, as you get there after Sioux Road, the first house there, they kind of broke the edge of the, I don't know what you call it.
Curb.
Of the curve. Is that going to be repaired? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the end, it's gonna have, a lot of places will have brand new curve, and anything broken will have to be repaired. There is at the very end of the project, there is a final walkthrough that is done, the city staff, the project engineers, and the contractor, and we basically walk all the streets and we point out any issues.
What's your projected time to be completed, that whole area?
If, hopefully by Friday.
This week?
Yeah, well, the oil was done, I think, for the oil that goes before the asphalt. That's already in place, so.
They placed it on the streets, not the whole Colonia.
Okay. Then we're looking early next week, because it's a fairly big subdivision. Now, contingent on the weather, like if it rains again, well, it delays everything. But if we get good weather, by early next week, the project will be completed.
Are we
And
doing
we'll
some
schedule
street-
the final walkthrough.
Are we doing some streets in another place? Because I saw oil in somewhere else, or is that just all?
This subdivision will complete the project.
But that's it for
That's
the
it for
phase one?
for phase one, yes.
Yes.
If I may, Mayor.
Go, yes, sir, go ahead.
Ms. Gonzalez, on your report, I know that you referenced to two crews working the north and the south side, the main street. How do you have them scheduled?
As far as patching or?
No, as far as, I guess, the weed eating and the mowing?
Right, I have one crew, and
You only
they're
have
on
one?
the south side of the expressway. Most of the north side, it's TxDOT, so we don't do, out of courtesy, we do across a police station,
Okay.
because it looks real bad. But anything on the main street belongs to TxDOT.
Okay, and do we have to call when it gets out of,
We
sometimes?
call them, I've even helped them a little bit, okay? We've called them and that, but we did do some grass cutting at one time. This was a while back, and they were not very happy with it. So they want us to let them do their own thing.
I did have a comment regarding the main street, Raul Longoria, with people coming in, and then it doesn't look very
Right.
pleasant. So, yeah, if we can prioritize our downtown area especially.
Right.
That would be great. Thank you, Ms.
You're
Gonzalez. Another question I had for you was The neighborhood cleanup, you also mentioned that.
We're gonna have the first neighborhood cleanup for the year at Oleanders. There's a canal there it gets pretty bad, and we clean it up in that, but in order to have that fixed properly, we need an engineer, and I've already addressed that. You're welcome.
Ms. Gonzalez, do we still have that mix that you were getting before? Because I saw that Outlet Drive was done, but I don't think you put the mixture, it was just
On which drive?
Outlet Drive?
No, Oblate, we did not use the new mix, because Oblate, my understanding, is gonna be one of the, on phase 2, so we've been just using the coal mix. We're saving the good mix for the streets that are not gonna get repaired in the near future.
Okay.
And that's gonna be a street that is going to be probably one of the first ones, Commissioner. Oblate. Yes, on the phase 2.
Ms. Gonzalez, I have a question in regard to the trash when they go out there and they throw in your area. I know that the procedure is that they got to go over there with a water bill or something like that.
Yes.
My question to you is, if the resident doesn't have a water bill, but he's got his ID with a San Juan address, will you still take the trash or not?
No, I'll tell you why, Mayor. Because we've encountered that some of these people that come without water bills and they have license that has San Juan. I followed a gentleman that said he was from San Juan all the way up to the line, up to Owasso, and he was from Edinburgh. And he tried to, that's why we're very careful, because they're bringing in a lot of junk. And some of these people are not from San Juan.
Okay. And it occurred one time or several
No,
times?
this has occurred. And in fact, I've instructed somebody else to do it. We sometimes, when someone brings excessive brush or excessive garbage and that, we tend to go and check out their addresses. And I just had a gentleman that came in 3 different times throwing, according to him, he was going to move into San Juan, and I followed him over to his area and found that he was cutting trees. That was his living. He was cutting the trees and then bringing them over to the brush site. And that's, tipping fees and residential funds.
Okay,
You know.
Gonzalez, how's the brush coming along? Brush
Well,
pickup?
I want to have the commission and the city manager consider allowing me to change the brush schedule. It's been 17 years that we have not had a change in brush schedule. This going, let's say, for instance, the northeast side, okay? Just an example. They're supposed to get picked up from the 1st to the 16th. Here comes the 16th. We have a holiday, we have rain days, and we get behind. They get upset. So I was thinking of doing 1 month for the north side, 1 month for the south side. That way they know that the whole entire month is scheduled just for them, for the north side. And I think it worked better than the way it's working, because we're getting bigger and we haven't changed anything.
Ms. Gonzalez, and this, do you think in 15 days and 30 days we'll be able to do both sides?
I think it would work. Now the residents aren't tied to it 1 through the 16th. If we get a little bit behind, they know that we have the whole entire month there to get cleaned up. The north side is the heaviest side. The south side is not as heavy. We get finished with the south side, we can go back up to the north side. So we have a little extra buffer there.
Are we sending out notices on the water bills on the dates that they're gonna, the brush is gonna be picked up?
Well, we haven't sent it in a while.
Okay.
Because I want to really think
Yeah,
about
because I know
changing.
you had them in quadrants.
Yes, we do. We still
Okay.
have them in.
So right now, you're still following the quadrants? Okay, that's what,
I think the information is available online.
online order.
Yes, it is.
Ms. Gonzalez, what do you mean that we haven't changed it in 7 years? So when we changed to
No,
quadrants,
in 17,
17 years.
what do we do when we changed it to quadrants? Didn't we change, do
no,
a change?
that wasn't, that's what we thought. But then I talked to my pickup employees, they haven't changed at all. The employees that I have now that have been there 20 years have kept the same schedule that we have now. And that schedule was implemented when John Aviles, I don't know if you remember, John Aviles was the one that implemented that schedule. And it has not changed since he has left, and he's been gone for a long, long time.
So it's not a good schedule?
No, I don't think so. The city's getting bigger, and we're tied to 16 days for one side of the street, or not street, but one side of the,
Quadrant.
Quadrant.
quadrants, and then 16 days for the other side of the quadrant. If we had one whole month for both of them, I think it would work a little bit better, because we're not tied to finishing on the 16th, we're tied to finishing on the 31st or 30th.
How many crews do we have in a brush?
3.
3? Would it be too hard or to go to a 4, so where we can have 2 on each side working parallel?
No, but we need equipment, and I need another operator. We need to get another grapple truck, which runs about, I would say, 160,000.
Does sanitation have money?
I'm not gonna, I plead the fifth on that one.
Look at it and should, bring it up to
consider.
something to look at it, because we do want to improve and we want to better, and we owe it to the taxpayers that we're promising them that we're going to clean this and we're going to pick up this. And if we need to expend a little bit more, I think so we need to do it, and maybe the commission can look at it and we come to a consensus, maybe we can help you out in that.
I mind, Commissioner, because I had discussed that with the city manager about doing an amendment so I can get another grapple truck.
But we'll do an assessment, Commissioner, Mayor, and we'll bring it back to the commission to make, with a recommendation on either leave it the way it is with the different quadrants or leave the north and the south on a monthly basis, and also with the purchasing of additional equipment and staff.
Yeah, because the quadrants are fine, but if we don't have the manpower to continue
right.
doing, you can change quadrants and change schedules,
It's
and
not
it
gonna
still
do any good.
becomes the same.
Definitely.
What about, the last question, I'm sorry, did you have?
No, go ahead.
The last question I have, Ms. Gonzalez, is the sweeper. What is the schedule on that,
We are trying to keep a schedule. All the city.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Where are you at right now?
Right now, Juan Soto and I had discussed it, doing first priority are the new streets that have been repaired. We started doing Cancun and Puerto Vallarta and Veracruz. We went out there and swept. I only have one driver, and you have to have a CDL. You just can't put anyone in there.
And how long ago was that, ma'am?
I would say about maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
2-3 weeks ago?
Yes. What I want, and I was telling him, what I'm looking for is to be able to schedule once a week a street that has just been, especially the ones that just been repaired, because we don't want the grass to start growing or anything like that. So I would like to see it once a week.
I think that's something we need to look at as well, also, because, just driving around and looking at the streets, there's plenty out there that need to be, it's pretty, bad. And I know it's not your fault, I'm not saying
No,
that.
no.
But, I know how we talked about the brush, but maybe looking into getting another individual to help you out in that aspect of it.
The unfortunate thing with the street sweeping is that before they can sweep the streets, because they're so bad, we have to go and scrape them, and we did. We did Eldora and we did Sioux Road. So and then we send the sweeper out there. And that's what we're trying to do now, is trying to get the grass off the streets. We use the weed killer. We've been using the weed killer so that we can try to catch up with it, especially on the north
I think
side.
it'd be, and this is my opinion, right? But I think we need to concentrate more on the drag. And then once you clear that out, then work your way in to the different neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my opinion on that. But thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
Carmen, remember that day that I went by your office over there, just to go cruising, just to go check? I noticed that, the building behind where you put all the trucks and all that, it was kind of wide open, and it was, I think, 28 degrees. It was kind of cold for your employees. Okay, I told you to find out, to check on if you can put a wall on the west side to stop the air from blowing in, that way, and maybe see how we can get some heaters, put extra heaters in there, because we're gonna take care of our employees also, because without the employees, we won't be able to function in the city. Go ahead and look at it.
Yes.
And bring us some numbers, and let's see what we can do.
Okay.
Now that we're on that note, another thing is the paving where you're at as well. I know when it rains, I was out there one time,
What we've been doing is putting millings on there, but
Yeah.
we're running out of millings
See
already.
what the cost would be
Yes.
as far as on putting asphalt or, you know, something like that, because it gets ugly out there
Okay.
when it rains, so, thank you. Any other questions for any other?
I have one for Mr. Willingham.
Go ahead, sir.
You're in charge of the maintenance division?
Yes, sir.
How are we as far as staff for that one? How are we doing
With maintenance,
with the maintenance, keeping up with the new facilities? I know with the new PD and.
I think everything's going pretty good right now. We did a little bit of catching up, getting it ready for its grand opening, but we're almost at full staff. We got one more to fill here in the next few days, custodian position. Once that is filled, I think we'll be good. But right now, we've been maintaining, pretty well.
Right now, Mr. Willingham, how many do you have for that maintenance? How many people are you using right now?
Right now, we've got 5.
5?
And we'll be adding the last one.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, City Secretary, now with the election, how are we gonna be announcing the results?
For the people that are voting daily,
No, for the final election.
it's gonna be posted on the website.
ITM already knows and has the,
I spoke to Robert, that we're gonna be posting daily the people that are voting, and then of course on election day.
yeah, not so much with the word in daily, I'm talking about election day, the final election, when the totals are gonna come, so people can know if they're gonna be in the website, or, because years back, we used to pile up at the city hall. So we haven't had any direction how they're gonna be posted. So we're saying it's gonna be posted on the website, so the public can know that they can look for the results,
Yes, that was correct. It's gonna be posted on the website.
Any other questions? If not, go ahead, Mr. Arjona.
Second item under presentation B, presentation on the water energy efficiency grant from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation to replace a raw water line from the Sergeant Leonel Trevino Reservoir to water plant number 1. Mr. Salinas?
Good evening, Commissioners. I have the city engineer, Perez Consulting, to prepare a presentation for you all on a grant that the Bureau of Reclamation puts out on an annual basis. The grant hasn't opened yet, but historically it opens in January for the first application to be due in March or April. The grant will allow us to seek funding for the replacement of the raw water line that comes from the Sergeant Trevino Reservoir to the plant downtown. As you all may be aware, that the line from there has had several ruptures in the past years. In fact, last year we had 2 ruptures on the line, one along Sergeant Trevino before it got paved, and the other one along Zapata. So without further ado, I'd like to call the engineer up so he can present his findings on the grant, give you more information on what we can do besides the replacement of the raw water line, to include some energy efficiency and even some water efficiency programs.
Thank you very much, David. For the record, I'm Alfonso Gonzalez. I'm joined Perez Consulting this past August. I have filled in several of these grant applications in the past, and I've been successful with them. Let me run through the presentation. It's pretty, I tried to only summarize specifically because the grant covers a lot. There is a lot of content in those grant applications, and probably if you have it there in your agenda, you're gonna find out pretty quick because it's about 60 pages or something like that. So the application is very thorough, but let me hit the bullet points so you can have an idea of what you're looking at. David covered a lot of ground in his short introduction there. This is most of the federal monies, they usually announce them as FOA, funding opportunities. And every year the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation puts out this one. Back in about 7, 8 years ago, they had like a $300,000 match grant, and then that started to grow up, and about 2 years ago, upsize that opportunity from they had two openings or two categories. It was category 1, which they call group 1, is the classical $300,000, and they added what they call the group 2, which is a 1 million. Now, it sounds attractive, but of course, like anything else, a $300,000 has less requirements and it's easier to meet. The $1 million grant application usually is more stringent, and I noted there in your presentation. Nonetheless, both applications do require you to do what we call a resolution, either by board, if it's a water utility, or by city commission. So you have to have that in place if you want to participate and proceed with the application. The other requirement is a letter of commitment that you do have the funds in place if in case you decide to participate. And the third one is fairly easy and everybody can do, is a letter of support. That means that you can go to your neighbors or to your raw water supplier and ask for their support on the project. That's typically what is required, and that's how they usually put them out. And just like David stated earlier, the announcement is not out for fiscal year 2018. I'm using fiscal year 2017 as the source of information, and it has remained pretty steady with the same requirements. What are the usual eligibility requirements? Well, you have to be, of course, considered to be in the western United States, and of course, Texas qualifies. The project has to provide water and energy efficiencies. It also has to provide some means to increase efficiency in your energy use. And of course, if most of the time they put a component in there for renewable energy, that means that you're gonna probably invest in some solar panels or something like that. Not all the time it's in there, but most of the time it's in there. It does have to be a benefit to endangered and threatened species, and of course, provide water sustainability. With that, we believe that your project does have potential for qualifying. David did mention your raw water pipeline from your reservoir north of the expressway to the water treatment plant 1. And it basically consists of a 15-inch line it's approximately 9,500 linear feet. My rough estimate is it's going to be a project of around $950,000 if you know, for budgetary purposes. I did include it. Could you swap to the next one? I apologize. There it is. I did include an aerial in there that gives you an idea where this line is, where the alignment is today. If it's decided to proceed at one point or whenever it needs to be done, it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be there, but that's where it is today. Now, from fiscal year 2017, the projects that were approved were 43 projects. 72% of them were in funding group 1, which is your $300,000 matching grant, and 28% were fell under group 2, which is the $1 million. One thing that has caught my attention in these applications is that every year more and more municipalities are applying for it. And last year there were 7 municipalities, just like San Juan, were approved. 2 out of the 43 projects were pipeline replacement, just similar to what you're trying to do here. So 2 of them were successful. 1 fell under the $300,000 category. The other one fell under the $1 million. The $1 million project, what made it successful was that they included a hydroelectric power plant. So just, those are some notes that you need to keep in mind. Now, what other projects this funding opportunity allows for, and that probably make it attractive for some of the municipalities, are that in the past, I mean, this past year, there's 6 automated meter projects in there that qualified. Of course, this is not what we mentioned, a raw water line is not an automated meter project. But this is some food for thought. There were 5 SCADA projects out there approved, 3 solar array projects. There was one that caught my eye, is an automated sprinkler system. Another one dealt with recycled water. And if I recall correctly, there was another one that dealt with turf replacement. So it's just food for thought. Up to here, that's my short presentation, but I'm open for questions if you all have any questions.
So the grant that you're going to be requesting will be the 1 million?
It would be dependent on whichever project we like to look at. My preferred project would be the water line, because it has failed in the past. In fact, right now, we're looking at a possible failure right there on Zapata again. We spotted a leak in that area, the general vicinity where the line runs. When this line was put into place, they used an old irrigation style pipe. It's PVC, but it's not designed for a higher pressure. And every time we go to chase it where there's a leak, it actually has become oblong and it starts cracking linear. So once that starts, it continues on. So my concern with that is that since Sergeant Trevino's already been paved, the line is practically right at the edge of the asphalt. If it were to fail when that's under pressure, it may possibly, I'm not saying it will, but it may possibly damage that recently paved street. So when this grant became available, that's one of the first projects that I considered. The other project that we actually looked at, and I had talked to the previous finance director, and I've been mentioning it to Leroy, this could pay for a smart meter program as well. As you saw, there's been 7 of those projects that have already been funded in the last year alone. In fact, the irrigation district received some funding through a similar grant from the same Bureau of Reclamation to do that cement lining on the irrigation canal, because one of the things that they're looking at is protecting water loss along the canals. That is what we're seeking for this raw water line, to seek that grant and get points, because every time we have a leak on that line, we lose raw water. And we know it has leaks because it's failed. It's like that small one, it takes a while to come up. So by addressing those water losses, we rank higher on the points. But
Don't get fined for having those leaks?
no, unfortunately, there's no fines for that. It just hits us in our pocket, because then I have to pay the irrigation district for more pumping. Even though the water belongs to the city, says we have to pump more, we have to pay the irrigation district for more water because we're losing it. And then at the other time, we also have to pay more electricity because the pumps have to run longer, because now we're having to make up for the water loss in the pipe.
Oh, we were to ask for the water grant, our matching fund would be 300,000 or?
No, sir.
No,
Or
what that grant, they match up to $1 million. So if it's a $2 million project, they would match up to $1 million of that project. Up to $1 million, doesn't guarantee we get the $1 million. We would have to come up with the other $1 million. So if it's a $300 project, if our match would be 300, we could only take on 600,000. So the estimate for this project right now is about $950,000. So we will be on the take for everything past the 300,000.
Yes.
So the 600,000 would be what we would have to come up, and that would have to come out of the retained earnings in the utility fund.
You have a price tag for the meter project?
We have not looked at as well, but as you recall, we also had Siemens come and do a presentation a few a few months ago with another possibility to fund that project just from the savings. Once they would pull the meters, determine what the water loss is in the meters, and account for that additional revenue by putting your meters, and that savings could help pay that project. And this grant could be leveraged with that as well. But of course, this grant's not open yet. We still need to apply, and we still need to get awarded and see how much we would even qualify for.
Now, how long would that process take from getting the resolution passed to where they notify the city and they let us know you guys got awarded?
It actually moves pretty quick because their first application is actually due in March, I believe. So it hasn't even opened for this fiscal year yet. Normally it opens up in January. Open up yet.
Okay.
So once it opens, we have to be pretty
Aggressive? Or
Yes,
what?
it is a pretty aggressive
Yeah.
schedule. Usually they open a window for 30 to 40 days. I've seen it a max. Sometimes they extend it for your application period. And within those days, you have to adopt your resolution. You have to come up with the letter of commitment and so forth. And also, just alluding to your question, Commissioner, I'll give you a good example. If your total amount is $200,000, they're gonna match up to $100,000 only. If your total amount is say $700,000, and they put the 300, you put the 400 out of pocket. Now, why am I so inclined towards the 300,000? Because it's easier for you to qualify. You saw the results. 72% is a big chunk. Plus, you're competing against a lot of other people. My recommendation is, if you all entertain that, it's easier to pursue a $300,000. Not necessarily means that that's what you want to do, but it's just for you to be informed. On the $1 million project, it works the same way. If the project is only $750,000 and you qualify for the $1 million project, it's going to be half and half. Not necessarily means that they're going to disperse the $1 million. That's why the title is match up. So if your project is 2+ million, then of course you can qualify for your 1 million, and of course the remaining is yours. Do take into account that on that application it's more stringent, and it requires you to do more for renewable energy and do more of this and more of that. And it's a 3-year project. So that means that you don't get your full benefit at once. You get it on the 3-year process.
Phases.
Yes, in phases, absolutely. So it could be on $250,000 the first 2 phases, and the remaining 500 on the 3rd phase. So for a project like this, my experience tells me that it's more attractive for a $300,000. And $1 million project is more of a different component project, where you have meters, where you have pipe replacements, where you have solar panels. So you have 3 or 4 different items in there. I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm just trying to inform you of what you're looking at. Very good.
So once you get your approval, how long do you have to start that project, or how long do you have that money that you can, the commitment?
It is fairly aggressive, let me tell you. In the past, just like Mr. Salinas mentioned, you submit the application by June or July, you get your notice that you succeeded. By the fall or so, you get all your paperwork, so the beginning of the fiscal year next year, you can start your project with it. And then, of course, as you're completing, you can draw from it.
Read it correctly, sir. It says that it's be awarded, if it's a 300,000, it would be awarded no later than September 30th of 2017, of this, or 2018.
Yes, that was the announcement that came. That's the all fiscal year, and I believe it was used as an example, because the
Right, but
fiscal
it
year.
says you would have, on a $300,000 grant, we would have 2 years from the date that it is awarded. That's the way I read it.
Correct, and it
Right.
all depends on the award. That one was specific
That's
for
the
the
300,000.
2017.
Yes.
Right.
But that was for 2017
Okay, okay.
FOA.
Yeah.
Since there isn't one for 2018, I put an example of the
Right,
last
okay.
year's on there.
Yes.
And it could be that.
It could be the same
But it
thing,
all
yes.
depends on how soon the federal government wants to spend the money.
Yes.
Because a lot of the funding gets earmarked for some of these, I hate to use that word, but it is
Yeah.
the word that gets earmarked for some of these projects. And in order for them to replenish those funds have to be spent.
Exactly.
So it all depends how fast they want to spend that money to be able to get replenished that money. So it may be 2 years that you have, but it may also be only 1 year that you have to do the project.
But
It all
that's gonna be
depends.
more.
We don't,
I doubt that it would be more than that.
yeah, but it all depends on how soon the federal government wants them to spend the money.
Very good.
And this is just a presentation. Once the FOA becomes available, we'll come back to commission to see if this is
Who would
something
be
that is
writing the
warranted.
grant? Him?
Yes, I will be pretty much filling all the information in there, and submitting it, and packaging and sending it.
Williams, I have a question. The line is seating, the current line, once you go, if it gets awarded, is that gonna be a need for any type of right-of-way acquisition, or is we got enough space?
No, the proposal is to remain in the same alignment unless we're looking at future expansion of that roadway. Now, if we plan to do future expansion of the roadway, then that's something we need to look at, but you also have to consider that we just acquired a bunch of easements in that same right-of-way for the first-time sewer connections. So that area is pretty limited.
Not crowded.
So if there is gonna be future expansion of that right-of-way, then we may wanna consider a different alignment. But for now, the alignment that was shown, that is the existing alignment. That is how the pipe runs today. That might be the same alignment we take.
Intention would be to get rid of that line, pull the line out and put the new one in?
Well, there's different options. It could be the pull and replace, or there's technology where we can just go in there and do pipe bursting on that same line and replace that line by just digging some access trenches at each end of the line. I think they can do 500 feet at a time. So every 500 feet, they would dig a hole, and then we come in and do a pipe burst type technology on that. But those are all options.
And I will entertain any ideas besides that, like, if you all want to do some easement acquisition, of course, I'm all for it too. I agree with Mr. Salinas, but if that needs to be entertained, absolutely, yes. Just so you can get an easement for your own line, that's perfect.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for
Appreciate
your
it.
time. Good night.
Yes, sir.
The next item, Mayor Commissioner, there's an item that Ms. Gonzalez asked to put on the agenda only because I don't think the Keep San Juan Beautiful Board has ever been introduced to the commission. So they're here. Ms. Gonzalez, would you like to introduce them?
I would ask if I may bring this item back next
Okay.
meeting. The board couldn't make it, so I would like to bring them
So no
back if
action
I
on it.
may.
Okay. And then the following item is under Presentation Employee Christmas Party Budget Report with Ms. Cavazos.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Before you, you have the budget report for the employee Christmas party. As y'all know, the City of San Juan held the employee Christmas party at Regency Hall on Saturday, December 16th. The venue included the catering services and decorations for 350 guests. The local HEB donated a cake as they do every year to the City of San Juan, and there was 37 awards presented to employees at the Christmas party. On the attachments, you can see the invoices and receipts that were part of the expenditure.
How many employees do you have a count?
I do not count, but I want to say approximately 200.
200?
Yes.
200 out of the 220 attended?
Well, I think it was,
Well, it's because it was the employee plus the spouse or significant other.
Right, correct, but I don't know how many employees attended. No count?
I don't,
No count?
And some of them were other boards, like
Right, the
EDC
boards were in,
or
right,
library.
yeah,
so.
exactly. And the 15,000 was the amount budgeted,
Yes, just for the Christmas party.
and that came out of which account?
There's an account under special events. Yes, the legislative account.
What is the total amount on that account, do you know?
23,000.
23,000. So 13 was used, so we have approximately 10 remaining?
Well, the Thanksgiving luncheon, the lighting of the Christmas tree, and the Christmas breakfast held here at the library also came out of that account.
Happen to know the total remaining balance? No?
No, I do not.
How about Mr. Gonzalez? Would you happen to know? Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I think it was a good party.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm glad with the gifts that you gave. I stayed there for a little minute, but I think so that it was a good donation that you picked up. And I think so that if we were to advertise it more where employees can see, you know, the benefit of it, you know, of coming, the families coming together and sharing a day together, because normally we don't see that. And it was a nice place where you picked, you know, it was pretty well decorated, so.
Thank you.
You had, I don't know, I'm just throwing a number. There was about maybe, what, 150 prizes you gave out or something? What, you know the total, more or less?
It was closer to 90.
Oh, it's 90?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looked like 250 though.
No, I thought it was about 150. And I know you guys gave away 2 trips, right? To
Yes, we
a
gave 2
resort
trips.
in Mexico as well.
Yes.
That was very appreciative as well, so.
It was actually more than 93 because there were some gift cards included in some of the,
Yeah, that's
some
right.
of the door
Yes.
prices.
Yes.
No, that's good.
Those trips were donated,
Yes.
Yes.
just for the public to know that there
Yes,
was a lot
those
of
gifts-
donated from people, vendors that deal with the city. Yeah.
Yes. And that's also part of the, how much was donated and how much we spend on the door prices.
Great.
On the location, on the venue itself, there was nothing in San Juan that was available for us to have it in San Juan, since it was a San Juan event?
Well, the problem was the date. They didn't have that specific date available. They had the weekend prior, which was Noche de Paz, and they had the weekend after, which was too close to Christmas.
Normally, it's kind of hard if you're going to do it last minute, but, you know, you might want to look at, like now, like look at now for next year.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they said, that usually for posadas and anything in the Christmas time, they usually do it before, and we weren't able to do that for the Christmas party.
The direction that Commissioner Garcia is leading to is that start now.
We
so
should
that
start.
For next year, yeah, so we're going to spend 9,000 on a venue that is in San Juan. We leave our money here in San Juan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, go ahead, Mr. Arjona.
Yes, the next item is under public hearings. Conduct a public hearing, consider an ordinance in the first reading for a conditional use permit to allow parking lot in a residential area legally described as Lot 100, San Juan East Mobile Home Phase 2 subdivision located at 1213 Foster Street, as requested by Manuel Cortez. Mr. Cervantes.
City Commission, good evening. Mr. Cortez, representing Iglesia Abundancia de Cristo, Inc., is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a parking lot in a residential area. Back in 2011, Mr. Cortez applied for a conditional use permit to allow a church and parking lot to be built in a residential area, and the permit was granted by the City Commission. The church owns 2 lots that are located back to back. The church was built in one property and the parking lot in the other property. The church acquired the adjacent property next to the existing parking lot in order to double the size of the parking lot, since they're having more people attending the church now. Mr. Cortez is proposing to construct a parking lot with 24 parking spaces in the proposed property. 43 letters went out to surrounding property owners to advertise the public hearings, and we received 1 phone call in opposition to the request. This went before the Planning and Zoning Commission on December 21st, and it was approved unanimously, subject to the list of conditions listed in your packet.
I'm going to go ahead and open this up at 6:05 PM. Is there anyone here for or against in reference to this matter? For or against? Okay. You're welcome to step to the podium and speak on your behalf. Just make sure you state your name for the record, please.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Comisionados, sí estamos, ¿verdad? Aquí, porque estamos extendiendo el parqueadero, porque el primero que lo tenemos está muy pequeño, ¿verdad? Y a veces no queremos que los hermanos que están llegando a la iglesia, se parqueen en la calle, ¿verdad? Entonces extendimos un poco más el parqueadero para poder tener, ¿verdad?, suficiente parqueadero ahí en la iglesia, ¿verdad? Que estaba muy pequeño el que teníamos.
¿Y su nombre otra vez, señor?
Manuel Cortés.
Manuel Cortés. Okay, gracias. Is there anyone else?
Buenas noches, Dios los bendiga. I'm for it porque es necesario que se expanda, ¿verdad?, el cuerpo de Cristo para atraer más miembros a la congregación. Y es algo muy bonito cuando dejamos, ¿verdad?, que seamos guiados por el Espíritu Santo para que el Señor Jesucristo siga bendiciendo a San Juan y a cada uno de ustedes.
¿Y su nombre, señor?
Ay, Nora Molina Guajardo.
Nora, okay. Thank you. Nora.
Gracias.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody against?
My name's Ramirez. This would be for the church. It would help the church in a way that more parking and more, it avoids accidents if they're not parked right.
Okay.
So having to park in the street, they would have it in the parking lot. It'd be more secured for the people to park and also for the pedestrians. So it would be a good element for the church. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, my name's Alvarado, and I want to know the location where this church is.
It's on Foster Street. South, if you go south on Foster Street, so more or less in the middle. It's a church there that I passed by and I see it there.
Oh, okay.
But they don't have enough parking, so they're like,
And so they want to use this for parking
for parking
space?
for themselves.
Extend it.
Extend their parking.
Oh, next.
Yeah, that's
oh,
what it's
okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Pero Foster Street está acá para la Austin.
Yes.
Yes, it's on.
Just continue going before you get to Cesar Chavez.
Yeah.
Yep. ¿Y cuántos parking spaces, how many parking spaces are there going to be?
Right now it has 24, and they're proposing to build 24 new ones.
Total of 48 parking spaces.
Are they,
Said the planning.
Unanimous? Unanimous?
Unanimous by Planning and Zoning Commission, yes.
they're just paving, or are there any gutters that are going to be through that, or
It's gonna be a parking lot.
no gutters, water gutters?
There's gonna be lighting requirements, curb stops, some buffer requirements, different things that they have to do.
We did have one call against.
Yeah, but she didn't show up to the
Did she tell you
public
why
hearing.
no?
I guess she was just opposed. She didn't say
No specifics.
specifically why. Just,
She even email you or anything like that?
no,
Nothing?
it was just a phone call.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission at this time? If not, I'm going to go ahead and close this at 6:49 PM. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item.
Congratulations.
The next item under appointments is consider nomination for the City of San Juan to the 2018 Rio Grande Walk of Fame as requested by the City of Hidalgo. The City of San Juan has participated in the past already since 2005, and as well, the city has always participated every year since then, and the time has come to the city to nominate a representative for this coming year, 2018. That's a typo, 2017, it should have been 18. So,
Then we have a list from 2005 on who we've nominated.
it's, they're there, and,
Hey, Mayor, I would like to nominate Ramiro Trevino. I believe that he was an advocate for the city. He had his pros and cons. At the end of the day, he would represent people, not only here at the local level of the city, but in the county and in the school board. So that is my nomination.
What is there? I believe the commissioner, the last one was Mr. Luis Ramos Jr.
Yeah.
That's your
That
nomination.
was last year's, I
Yes.
remember. Oh. Commissioner Garcia, is this in a motion, sir?
Yeah, this is the motion.
Okay, is there anyone here to second it?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Ramiro Trevino.
The next item is discussion and possible action authorizing staff to solicit statements of qualifications for a cost of service, water and sewer rate, and debt capacity study. Mr. Salinas?
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. On September 2017, the City Commission approved the budget for a water and sewer rate study. I'm here today requesting authorization to solicit for qualifications for either a firm or an individual to do not only a rate study, but also a cost of service study and a debt capacity study. As some of you are aware, there's a lot of needs in the city. We are growing, and there's a lot of infrastructure that we need to improve and add. So I'd like to solicit for these, to determine how much debt capacity we still have with our current rates, adjust any discrepancies in our current rate structure between residential and commercial, and also to see what it truly is costing us to produce 1 million gallons of water or 1,000 gallons of water on a daily basis, so we can assign cost where it needs to be assigned.
Is there any questions for Mr. Salinas at this time? If not, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
The next item is consider authorizing city manager to declare various items as salvage and surplus property. Mr. Jaime?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening, sir.
As per the Texas Local Government Code 252, salvage property means personal property other than items routinely discarded as waste because of the use, time, accident, or any other cause is worn, damaged, or obsolete that is of no value to the purpose for which it was originally intended. Surplus property means property that is of no salvage property or items routinely discarded as waste. It is not currently needed or required by the city and possesses some usefulness for the purposes for which it was intended. The surplus and salvage property consist, that we're recommending you all approve, consist of 18 vehicles, 3 brown wood file cabinets, 3 flat screen televisions, 1 standing file folder, 5 4-drawer file cabinets, 2 2-drawer file cabinets, 1 standing metal cabinet, 2 plastic folding tables, 6 desk chairs, 1 futon bed couch, and 1 plastic safe, and 1 glass wood cabinet, 12 brown desk, 1 light brown desk, 7 dry erase boards, 1 white refrigerator, 1 microwave, 1 toaster oven, 1 brown desk, 6 door lockers, and 4 PowerEdge 1850 servers, and 3 Dell laptops, and 1 Acer laptop. Also, this surplus consists of 12 bunker gear pants, 14 bunker gear coats.
What was, 12 what?
12 bunker gear pants, that's the fire protective uniforms for the fire department, and 14 gear coats, 10 pair of gloves, 2 pairs of structural boots from the fire department. The surplus items will not be these surplus items will not be for sale due to liability reasons. They've already exceeded their life expectancy, and they cannot be, my understanding is they cannot be recertified for use. Donation of these items will be considered for those agencies from Mexico who show interest. Staff is recommending the disposal, recycling, or selling of the above items. Staff will dispose of the listed items in the best interest of the city of San Juan.
How do we sell those items?
more than likely, it's gonna be through auction. If an item is so deteriorated, then we would throw it away. But because there's so many items, more than likely, we're gonna place them on pallets, and whoever bids on them, it'll go to the highest bidder. There are vehicles here that the police department, they usually get vehicles awarded to them. I believe these are from the DA's office, and so those will be sold at auction also.
Do we set the bid, or we just at zero, whatever people want to?
Whatever they want to bid. Yeah, the bond and bond, if that's who we use, we've already called them, and they said they would try to get us the best prices they could get us and assemble the items in such a way that we'd be able to get the best price.
You mentioned DA or DA?
I believe it's the district attorney's office.
It's the DA's office? Chief?
That's correct, Mayor.
Oh, okay, okay.
The vehicles are from the district attorney's office that we seized,
Oh,
and
okay,
they go
that's-
by auction. We
Now,
auction.
now, all this property here, what's the percentage that is salvageable? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
do you know?
I know with the police department, they asked other departments to come over, and if there was something that other departments could use, that they would be able to take it. So that way we could use it internally. Whatever wasn't taken by other departments, and they're asking that it be put up for auction or salvage.
Okay,
On the fire department, Chief, do you have, anything is good, the products you have there, or can any other agent use it?
Not within the U.S., Commissioner. There's issues as far as liability. Anytime the gear goes past its life expectancy, they need to be either discarded or they can be donated to Mexico.
So you can donate it to Mexico?
Correct, yes, sir. They're pretty beat up. I think they're from 1996. So they can't get recertified. So the best thing would be to donate it to Mexico. I have several chiefs from over there that come and visit every now and then, and they're willing to take whatever we have. So unless somebody else knows
Okay,
of
so you
anybody
could look
in
at that, if it's gonna help somebody at one time, at one point, especially people that are out there firing, you know how it is, and they don't have equipment, and at least whatever
Yes,
they
sir.
can cover themselves with.
Yes, sir.
Please look at that option.
Okay.
Chief, and if you do go that route, and we do donate some of our, stuff to Mexico, stuff like that, promote that, show some kind of PR that the city of San Juan is helping out, I mean, as in, to give us more of a, so people can know what the city of San Juan is doing with our salvageable,
correct,
surplus items, that we are going out, we are helping, our neighboring country.
Correct. Yes, sir. We'll do it, Commissioner.
So, our recommendation is to authorize the city manager to declare various items as salvage and surplus.
Any other questions for Mr. Jaime? If not, motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
The next item is consider approval of the Economic Development Corporation 2017-18 budget. It was presented the last time, it must have been about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. It was presented before you, the commission, and it was asked that the budget be reconsidered and maybe restructured in the way that has been done in the past. So I'm bringing it before you. The one that is on your binder, that's, it's got the, I included that one in the binder. However, last night we had a EDC meeting. There were some changes that were made, so what was passed on in front of you, that's the most current one.
This right here?
Yes, sir. So that's the one that I'm asking for consideration approving. I don't know if you had a chance to go through it, unless you want me to go item by item, or however you want to do it.
My question is, Ben, is if we haven't approved the budget, how have they been operating? Or does they still allow them to operate?
Yes, they're still allowed to operate to a certain extent. That's my understanding.
Is that correct, legal counsel?
Council can,
Well, I know that typically what happens is, in other municipalities, they will adopt a budget. And from what I understand that there was a budget that was somewhat presented, but not to the form that this council wanted at the time that they approved the fiscal year's budget. So long as they operated within those parameters, I believe now they're giving you now a more detailed or line item budget, even though, I don't think it's here for approval, but it's really more for presentation or what?
It's for approval.
Yeah.
We haven't approved a budget,
Yeah,
so.
It's kind of odd that there wasn't an approved budget, just because typically the EDC budget is within the city budget, and that's when it's approved. I would think that they were, so long as they operated within their proposed budget, I think they would be okay. But typically, I think I would have said that their budget was approved at the time that we approved our city budget, because normally it has to be within that time frame. The fact that we hadn't received it or approved it, there's some issues with that, but I understand that this is not the first time that it's come before this council. I understand that it wasn't in acceptable form before, and so they wanted a more detailed report also. And I know that we went without a director.
Right.
For,
And yes, you're absolutely right. The budget was approved at the EDC level prior to October 1st, though. However, it was never brought before us so that we could put it on the agenda, so it'll be presented to the commission, to the mayor, and to be approved. So when they brought it over was, if I'm not mistaken, must have been like in November, and that's when it was.
not an acceptable form.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, pretty much the budget wasn't even atomized like what we're seeing right here. It was just numbers, and it was, honestly, it was just.
It was a one-page
One page.
for $1 million budget.
Yeah.
And I'm asking because some citizens did ask that question, so that's why I'm asking it. Yeah. Second of all, I'm seeing a line item there for a motor vehicle for 20,000. What is this vehicle going to be used for?
That's an item that was requested by the EDC board, and apparently what they want to use it is for the staff, so that whenever they need to go to different places here within the city, or if they need to chauffeur maybe one of the prospective developers or investors, that they take them around on that vehicle.
You know, normally I don't think so. You really will show for an investor, because normally they make their arrangements to get where they're going to go. So I see 20,000 as an item that, I guess we can talk to chief or somebody, go look us for an auction and get us a car that can be run in the valley that's dependable. If we're going to buy a $20,000 vehicle, I expect the board to go in their conference and go themselves on that vehicle instead of paying mileage. So they need to think what they're going for what they wanted, because if they're going to buy a $20,000 vehicle, that means that we're not going to pay mileage when they're going to Dallas or Houston, when 4 of them can ride together.
Right, and that was another intention of that.
Now, second of all, is that if they have their spouse, companion with them, I don't know if they can travel on a city vehicle, so they got to consider those options, that if they're going to do this, we're going to expect them to abide by those kind of policy. So I would prefer to go look for a 10,000 or 8,000 car where they can just go Brownsville or whatever meetings they have in the EDC around, and not put their, they go visit and they don't have to use their own vehicle. That's my opinion. Everybody might have a different.
Or get us a $50,000 Mercedes for 20,000.
That's an option.
Now, the 20,000, Mr. Arjona, does that include the insurance on the vehicle?
No, Commissioner, if, that's an item that we worked on this afternoon with general insurance liability that was added to it. If I'm not mistaken, is there towards the back. I'm sorry? Was it, second page? What's the account number? 5560, yes, towards the very bottom. We put general liability insurance for $2,500, and we're kind of estimating at $200 a month.
So right now, the individuals that are there right now working, they're getting paid mileage while they go and deliver the
Yes,
agendas.
they get reimbursed.
They're running around, they get paid, obviously, they're using their own personal vehicles,
That
right?
is correct.
Okay.
What is the norm on the reimbursement? Like, what is the average?
50 or 48 or 49?
But on a monthly basis for them?
It varies.
Right, per mile, but they go as far as what they've submitted for reimbursement.
Like $50, 100, or?
What's an average on reimbursement of mileage?
Is someone here from the EDC or no?
Yeah, I thought Ms. Martha's here.
Miss Martha, can you please come to the podium? I'm sorry,
Ah,
ma'am.
she's over there hiding.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
She was hiding.
Huh?
She was hiding.
What is the question that we have is, what is the average as far as on mileage that you earn
More than $50 a month.
a month?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sometimes it's 36, sometimes it's
An investment.
40.
okay.
So,
$50 a month.
Is that docked from the auto allowance, or is that,
Yes.
is that where it's docked from?
Yes.
And so you have a line item for auto allowance of 3,000 for the year, that's what's proposed, right?
But
And now it's only you that does
Right
the
now,
running around?
it's just me.
Yeah.
let
And
me
what
just-
about the other?
No, she doesn't because she is not
Yeah.
an employee. She's just a helper right now.
Oh, you
Okay,
have to put
I
the.
got you.
Until Ms.
el board
Valderas comes back.
Got
and
you.
the insurance, okay.
But she's,
They could
she
travel.
helps me.
Right, let me just point something out. As far as the car allowance, that was destined for the EDC director, if I'm not mistaken. It's $300 a month. 300? Yes. So actually, this is not necessarily car allowance for reimbursement of.
No, I
of that.
understand that. No, I understand.
Then, but going back to the car, who drives it? Who's gonna drive it? Who's the quien es, or is just whoever is gonna show for somebody, whoever got an appointment, that's, give me the keys?
Right, or if they need to do any type of errands, like coming back to City Hall, going to the, any place.
Post office.
Bank, post office,
Go pick
whatever.
up supplies.
Conferences, meetings.
Go and do a ribbon cutting, taking, as the pastries or something for somebody that they're gonna do a ribbon cutting or picking them out, stuff like that.
But anybody?
Well,
Anybody on
actually, it's the EDC, that it's gonna be,
That's what I'm saying, anybody on the E EDC?
well, we only have like 2 persons there. And we're gonna have a director later on, so it'll be 3,
Monday.
so. Right now, it's just you? Yes, so.
So where's your reimbursement coming from, if it's not from the car allowance? Do you know?
Coming from there.
So it is coming from the car
Yeah,
allowance?
I'm getting it from there because we don't have reimbursement for professionals, just for professionals.
So if it is coming from there right now, before, when you had a director, were you getting reimbursed? And where was that money coming from? So it was coming. Okay.
Can we get it in maroon?
What? Maroon? And on the,
Solander, Mr. Arjona, as far as the car allowance, auto allowance?
yes,
It's still being
there, sir.
proposed. So if once a director is hired and we have the vehicle, we're still gonna give him a car allowance?
Well, see, that's the other question that we asked at the meeting. Who is that vehicle going to be used specifically for? Because I know that one of the idea was for the director to use it, but then if the director is going to be using it, my question comes to who's going to be liable as far as insurance liability goes. So that's what I spoke to the attorney after the meeting, though.
But shouldn't the director just, if for some, they decide they go with the car, the director should only be using that vehicle just during working hours? I don't expect him to take the car home.
No, if they're going to use the same policy that we use, if the guy's getting, whoever comes on board gets car allowance, if we're using the same policy with the city, it's anything after 25 miles that they're going on a one-way trip, then they will use the city vehicle or the EDC vehicle.
Now,
But
what-
other than that, here, it should be his own vehicle if he or she is getting car allowance.
I guess this is a question for Mr.
We ever had a car, has the EDC ever had a car?
Car, no.
No.
They just want a car now.
Mr. Palacios, what is the, as far as, legal, if someone's using their own personal vehicle on, during working hours, and God forbid, but there's an accident
They would be covered under their own insurance policy.
under their own,
Yeah.
their own insurance?
That's correct.
Okay,
It would be their vehicle.
okay, so, all right, that's what I need to know.
You know, the issue I see is that the EDC is barely getting back into their feet. You know, you're spending 20,000 when we can address and help. They were complaining before about many grants to businesses, and here we're throwing 20,000. I don't feel that it's needed at this point. You know, if the EDC grows and as we grow, we might look at it again, but I think so by then, the EDC should be more healthy. And at this point, I think so we should help businesses, not a vehicle that's going to be parked there more time than driving. We're not paying that much mileage, and I know that sometimes, we want to save when we're paying a lot of mileage, but we're not.
How did we come up with 20 grand?
As a matter of fact, at last night's meeting, I proposed $15,000 for a vehicle, and it was that, they
wanted 20.
20,000, yes.
Car, truck?
Actually, a sedan. A small little car.
A small little car? 20
Oh.
grand?
Four-door car.
Going back to what Commissioner Garcia referenced to as far as the grants, is there a line item for grants in this budget? Or there's not?
For the mini grants?
Yes.
Yeah, we,
Is there a line item?
remember that line item that the attorney said that it was like 10% of the budget, which is at 85,000?
Right. Which is the promotional expense.
Yes, sir.
So that is available for mini grants.
Yes, it'll be available for mini grants.
Now, is mini grants or is this number as well as far as in incentives?
Incentives as well.
Also, so
Right.
it's mini grants and
And
incentives.
incentives.
85,000?
No, that's the, what's the line item on that one? I can't see it here. Let me find it.
On page 3, under miscellaneous, promotional expense, 24 dash, ya no miro, 571.
Yeah, that was promotional
85,000.
expenses. Right. We had 40,000 for the Noche de Paz, 10,000 for the 4th of July, which is 50. So there was a leftover 35,000 for mini grants and incentives to different businesses. You look in the first page, at the second column to the last time that the budget was presented, it was presented at total revenues at 878. We kind of felt that was kind of aggressive, so we kind of like scale it back at 860,000, make it a little bit more conservative. At this year's, we ended up at 844, almost 845. So that's why I kind of like brought it down to 860,000. That was another change that we made.
So what, as far as I know, you gentlemen, the issue on the car, honestly, I really don't. Let me ask you, do you guys need a car over there or not? Be honest, please. Your honest truth. I know, I'm putting you on the spot again.
I would love to give you guys a car. I would, pero
And
ahorita I don't think we're at that.
Yes or no?
To
No?
be frank and honest, not to put on the spot, but it was a recommendation coming from the board. that
And
wanted
they all voted unanimous on it?
For the most part, yes, everybody did.
Okay, what, you want to take it out?
No, I think so, the motion to approve the budget
Without
with
the-
with a
without the-
condition that the 20,000 are allocated to something else that would help the EDC to promote the EDC or help promote the EDC, not for a vehicle.
We can look at it at the end. They'll have the ultimate, not the ultimate, but they'll have an option later on if there's monies that is going back to their fund balance. At that point, maybe they can look at it and see, you know what, there's an excess amount of money that we can afford a vehicle if the need is there. But yes, I agree. We can always put the 20,000 back in any type of promotional incentives or expenses.
So that's the motion to approve the budget with the condition that the 20,000 are allocated to, in some way, to promote the EDC.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. I'm sorry, ma'am.
The next item is consider authorizing city manager to enter into two-year interlocal agreement lease extension amendment with Hidalgo County Head Start Program for the property located at 200 North Cougar for operation of Head Start Classroom and the Parent Meeting Center. On this particular item, Mayor, Commissioners, it's an item that has been practiced for the last 20 years. It says the Hidalgo County Head Start Program has expressed a desire again to continue the lease in the city building located at 200 North Cougar. The Head Start Program has leased a facility in question over the last 20 years for the purpose of operating a Head Start center. The recommendation is authorize city manager to enter into a 2-year interlocal agreement lease extension amendment with Hidalgo County Head Start Program for the property located at 200 North Cougar for the operation of a Head Start classroom and the parent meeting center.
How much are we leasing it for?
$12 a year, sir.
$12 a year?
Yes.
That's good.
And it hasn't changed
That's good.
since, I don't know when. It's been like that for 4 years.
No, I just asked because I used to sit in that board and we used to have other entities serve more, and I believe that, it's our own same kids that we're housing there, and we're here to help them. So,
Is there a motion to approve?
so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item is consent agenda. We have meeting minutes, September the 26th, 2017, September 28th, 2017, December 5th, 2017. Should you have any questions on any of these, we can always pull them out in order to discuss and make an adequate decision.
Is there any thing we need to pull out or amend at this time? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item under executive session, the San Juan City Commission will convene an executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Vernon's Texas statutes, and the Code's Annotated Government Code Chapter 551, pursuant to Section 551.087 deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, discuss or deliberate the current, future, and/or pending projects regarding commercial or finance information which the EDC is conducting economic development negotiations pursuant to Section 551.074. The personnel matters, discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, director of sanitation, and chief of police.
Is there a motion to enter executive session at
So
this
moved.
time? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're entering at 7:17 PM. From executive session at 8:37 PM. Is there a motion to reconvene?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're back on the record. Go ahead. At this time, under executive session A, we're taking no action. And under executive session, what is it?
Number 2?
Yeah, number 2, I'm sorry. We're taking no action as well. So is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting has been adjourned at 8:36 PM. Thank you.